my wife. Oh, and she's a 4 a.m. person. So God bless her. I can't do that.
I'm at the gym at 4:30, and then I go to jujitsu at 6, and then I come home, and that's how I start my day. But that's the gym is a new thing for me. 3 weeks ago, I started back at the gym. I'm getting old. My body needs it. I feel like I'm falling apart otherwise.
You got to lube the joints. Yeah.
It's true. Right. Movement is life. I definitely believe that.
It's true. Yeah. Well,
no meditation though.
What?
You know? No.
Okay, that's where you're missing out, Sean.
Uh-oh. There's no way I can clear my brain.
Meditation's in coffee though, right? So
no, sir.
Yes.
Not that way.
Those are sort of antithetical, aren't they?
Yeah, kind of
diametrically opposed things, coffee and meditation.
Yeah, exactly.
What
a dichotomy.
All right. Well, thank God it's Friday. Here we are. We've got a couple of guests today that I'm excited to be talking to. We've got Brenda Lee. She's an electrifying leadership expert with a BA in Management Information Systems from Eastern Washington University. She melds her background in computer coding, kind of in my old world, with her corporate prowess to recode brains and swiftly pinpoint performance issues in individuals and teams. Renowned for her research-based hands-on keynotes that dive deep into leadership challenges, she's praised for her relatable and transformational approach, far from the typical rah-rah corporate spiel, which is good. A single mom to 4 boys, her resilience and tenacity are undeniable proofs of her capability to tackle any challenge head on. Welcome, Brenda. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
We've also got Holly Fleming, and an Olympic marathon trials qualifier. Wow, that's amazing. She channels her dedication to excellence into connecting businesses with their ideal clients. Beyond her prowess in orchestrating virtual and live events, she's a revered community pillar. Inspiring personal development and deepening communal bonds, she isn't just about business, she's about driving success, both personally and collectively. Hey, Holly, thanks for coming in today. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Thanks.
And of course, myself, Dan Kling, and Sean Woolley. We're here every week. Come back anytime and see us.
Same old.
So that's a lot, man. That's a lot to unpack. And I know that you have something about a backpack, Brenda, that you talk about. Mm-hmm. And we do our research. We find out about you.
Okay, yeah.
So you started in IT or in IS as a coder? You were a coder?
No. So like full transparency. I was working full time. I went to school full time at night. And then I competitively showed horses and was seeking the world-class level, right, with horses. And I was super competitive. The company at the time I was with, the sooner I got done with my degree, the sooner I could move up in management. And I was young and I was aggressive and I wanted to collapse time on getting my degree done. So full transparency, I hate coding. It was a faster degree to get done. I was doing marketing and I just swapped them and I got out of school faster. So coding has never been my thing. Never used the degree. Don't like it at all. Like I said, I use it to recode brains now.
There you go. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
There are many of us who need our brains recoded.
Right. Me too.
You know, I was watching something today. Do you know who Andrew Huberman is?
Yeah. Yep.
So he's awesome. And he was talking about recoding your brain, recoding your attentionality and things like that. But anyway, so now that's what you do via these events that you do, or do people come to you one-on-one, or what are you doing most of?
Yeah, so we offer both. In fact, we're getting ready to roll out one-on-one coaching programs here next month. Getting ready to do a summit on the 14th of September, and we're going to launch that program then. What I've done is, it's kind of funny, Dan. I mean, when I first started coaching, can we go into that story a little bit, like how it all came to be, right? I had gotten divorced. I was a general contractor and I hated it. And I had asked 3 different people who were in my life, but didn't know each other, right? I was like, hey, what do you see me doing? And the first person was like, man, you're a coach. Like, you see things in people that they can't see themselves. And I was like, I seriously, like, this is full transparency. I was like, I'm educated. I'm not going to go be a coach. Like, you could get a coaching certificate tomorrow, right? I mean, total snotty attitude. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Second person, you need to go be a coach. You're phenomenal with people. You can pinpoint their weak areas and you can strengthen them in ways that they didn't know that was possible. And I'm like, oh crap. Like, okay, I gotta consider this. Third person, you need to be a coach. You talk coach, speak coach, you are coach. Like, this is what you do. And I was like, well, shit, like, I guess I got to go investigate this. Right. And so as a coach though, it's like, well, you got to have a niche. What am I going to do? So for me, I was married to my ex-husband for 14 years. He had an addiction 7 years in. I mean, he had addiction the whole time, even prior to me even knowing him. 7 years in, I realized, holy crap, this guy's not going to shift. Like, I need to do my work. I was also raised in a legalistic religion where it was like, you don't get divorced. And so in my mind, I felt like I had to do all the work, at least not all, we're never finished, right? But I needed to do work on myself over my parenting issue, like issues with my parents, all the things. And so that began my research. And so I reverse engineered my divorce to some extent. And Dan, I believe your divorce, like, you get this. There's nothing that impacts your life like divorce. And the average, what's that?
I'm not divorced. I'm happily
You're not
married.
divorced for some reason.
Don't tell Jen. Don't tell Jen.
Don't tell Jen. Okay, scratch that. Can we edit that out of the live?
No. It's good. My wife never watches these things, so it's okay.
It makes it better.
Great. Well, the reality is, though, is that like people don't realize it, and I think it's because it's so common. The average time it takes to get over divorce is 7 years. Okay. And so because I had done so much research with neurofeedback, neuroscientists, we did emotional technique, saw multiple different counselors, read all the books, did all the things. When to circle back, when people said to me, you need to go be a coach, I was like, I can help people collapse time on their divorce recovery. And so I literally took all of my experience over the last 10, 14 years, dumped it out into an 8-week program, and I launched it online, and that's what started it. Well, I have got a lot of business ownership and corporate experience, right? And so my clients that I attracted were always high-level executives and entrepreneurs. One of my clients, very early in the divorce program, we got done with our coaching call. He called me back in like 5 minutes. He's like, hey, I've got an idea. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. Like, these guys get a little wild that sometimes it's like, we're not sure what's happening, And he's like, because everybody has in the divorce coaching program, they always have this aha moment, like, this isn't about the divorce. This is about me, right? Like, this is about my growth. Where am I? Who am I? What's my identity, right? So he had that aha moment, he hangs the phone up, calls me right back. He's like, if you could change this language and give it to my team, it would radically change the way my company operates. And I was like, sure, right? Like, I'll try anything once. And so we did, we gave it a go. And 4.5 years later, here we are doing team leadership development and executive development in that way. So there we are.
And so that's when Modig was born. That's where that came from?
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny because Modig didn't come until a little bit later. This was, I don't know, a few teams in at some point, right? And we're still green behind the gills. I'm still like training and I'm still navigating this whole team aspect, right? Because what we do is we take executive level teams, or depending on the size of the company, right? We either take a department and their leaders or the executive level of teams. We put them in a room for 2 days and we do training. Okay. Mm-hmm. So in this training, this is, like I said, this is one of the earlier teams. So I was still not really sure of myself, right? And like, they wouldn't have known it. I can pull it off pretty well, but internally, like there's those insecurities. Like, do I really belong in corporate? Is this really right for their team? And whatever. Well, excuse me. I'm working with this team. It was a construction company. Out of 26 people in the room, 3 of us were women, and I was one of them, right? And what happens initially when I start the training is I've got this bag, right? And I pull out this bag where it's like I put the blanket of shame of divorce over me, and I pull out this bottle of wine where, because of my ex's addiction, I was drowning it out with wine every night. I would cry in the closet after the kids went to bed. It was so painful. And then I pull out, but he was addicted to pornography. So felt like I had to look good. So I pull out a yoga mat and I'm like, and then I had to go to yoga the next morning because I had to look perfect in my mind, all the distortion that happens with being married to someone like that. And I'm in downward dog and the room is spinning, and I'm just like unpacking all, like, everything in my bag. And that time I had an abortion, right? When I had told my mom I got pregnant and she drove me down to the abortion clinic. She was like, you're getting an abortion, right? I remember literally crying on the table, and the nurse had asked me, she's like, are you sure you want to do this? And I remember saying to her, no, but I don't have a choice. Like, right at 19, I didn't feel like I had a choice. My mom still was running my show, right? And so all these life's events that everybody deals with, right? You may not have abortion and pornography and those things all in your backpack, in your bag, but everybody has a bag. And when we set the stage this way with the leadership team, it opens them up to be completely vulnerable, right? Like we're able to get transformation so fast and in such a way that like you can't. In fact, I got an email this morning. In fact, I shared it with Holly, one of the teams previously. She's like, you cracked a wall with this team that I thought was impossible to get to, right? And it just opens people up. When I'm vulnerable and I lead by example, now everybody else gets to be vulnerable, right? And so with this team, how Modig was born was we were a day and a half in the training. There was this one guy who hadn't cracked, right? Like he hadn't had his breakthrough. And I am like a bulldog with people. I'm like, I will stick with you stride for stride until this breakthrough happens. And we did one of the exercises. It was a forgiveness exercise. And he hadn't shared. And I always give everybody the opportunity after we do some stuff like, hey, anybody willing to share, and people share. And he hadn't shared the whole day and a half. And I could tell he was super uncomfortable. And I just called him out. I was like, hey, are you willing to share what's going on for you? And he was like, nope, this is unforgivable. Like, it's just something I can't even talk about it. Now, mind you, I've already done the bag a day and a half ago. That's how I start out of the gate, right? So he's seen all my crap, and people have shared in the room for the last day and a half. And he just won't step up to the plate and share what's going on for him. And I sit back, and there's it's like one of those like cigar chairs, right? That we were in a cabin. They had rented a cabin for the whole team. One of those leather ones with all like the, like those fancy, you know what I'm talking about, with the buttons and crap, like this big brown leather chair.
Yeah.
I sling my arm over the back and I'm like, hey buddy, like, it's okay. Like, surely, at the time for me, I was like, you haven't taken a life, right? And in my opinion, in my belief, I had taken a life by having that abortion. That's my belief. Nobody can take that from me. That's how I believe, right? So I had taken a life. And at the time, this is all before the Roe v. Wade stuff came up and stuff. So we were pretty frank and candid, and we could talk freely without being annihilated over things, in our opinion. And he sat there and he started to cry when I said that. And I just sat there and and I swear to God, you guys, it was like, I swear 10 minutes went by, 10 seconds probably went by, but it felt like I'm like, oh shit. Like, what do I do now? Like, what if he doesn't step up to the plate? What if I don't get his breakthrough? Like, all these things are going on for me. He finally stands up. His hands are shaking. He's holding his paper. And he said, no, but because of what I told her, she did. And he started bawling. And then and there, in that moment, that guy released decades worth of guilt and shame and beat up and all the things that he had been carrying around in his bag over what he had told her. And he finally let it go. And I sat back in that moment and I was like, holy shit. Like, this work that we're doing, you've got to be brave. So the bottom line, Modig means brave in Swedish. I had to find a website address that was available for leadership, which is almost non-existent. And Modig was it. And that's how Modig was born.
Oh, wow. Okay. So opening yourself up and being vulnerable to a group of strangers helps those strangers in turn do the same exact thing.
Absolutely. People don't understand in communication. In fact, I was just having this conversation with a good friend yesterday at lunch. When there's so many pillars of communication, only 7% of our communication is done through words, right? 38% is done through voice and inflection. Everything else is done through body language and our facial expression, right? When we're sharing and getting vulnerable with a story, and we could say that story, we could write that story, you're not going to have the same impact as when you're seeing someone live, you're experiencing the bag. I'm holding this baby doll, right? That represents that child that I released, all the things that people instantly can connect with you, because whether you've had an abortion or not, there's skeletons in your closet that you haven't shared with people, right? And when I pull everything out and I'm vulnerable with people, that's one of our pillars in the training that we do, whether with private coaching or with the executive coaching. We teach them that communication is not words. There's 6 different pillars to communication, and vulnerability is one of them.
Wow. Yeah. And it's something that's tough for just about everybody to do. I mean, I know that there's things that I have that I probably wouldn't spill out here, and I'm sure everybody's that way. So it's a really tough thing to do with people, especially strangers. Wow. That's going to be tough. So I met the book. So go ahead, Sean.
I was going to say, do you find that, women are more willing to open up versus men? I mean, I know there's the whole guys don't really like to talk about feelings kind of thing.
So it's so funny you say that, Sean, because, my business coach, generally just likes to work with men. Okay. He that's all he likes to do. Badros Kulian. I don't know if you guys know him. He owns the Fit Body Boot Camp franchises, all that kind of stuff. He only likes to work with men. And him and I go round and round about this. He's like, men are not going to open up and be vulnerable with a woman in the room. And I was like, That has not been my experience. It's just not my experience. The things that these men share, because I mostly work with men. And in fact, Dan, I know you mentioned earlier, like women in leadership. A lot of women don't come into my programs, and I'm a pretty type A, so I just attract men that are go-getters and doers. And I think they appreciate the fact, especially executives, like nobody will talk to them and hold them accountable the way that I will, right? Like I don't give a rip what your title says. I'm holding you accountable to your higher self, period. Non-negotiable, right? And so when we just go in with that and they know it's a safe space, man, I have never had any issues with men pouring. Bleh. I get it all. I mean, I've heard it all. Like they always say, like, this is going to be really bad. And I'm like, trust me, I've heard it all. Like, heard it all.
Yeah. It would be crazy if someone was like, yeah, I killed this guy and I had to put him in a barrel. You're like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Here's the address to the buried body.
I need to call the police now.
There is a disclaimer in my contract. I've never had anything like that happen, but we do have our bases covered there.
And you have to report it. Yeah, unfortunately.
Yep. Right. Yep. Yeah.
So,
thankfully, I've never experienced that.
I met you both at Matt and Kristen Schneider put on a personal development, relationship development weekend event, actually, and it was awesome. It was pretty life-changing. And I'm
sorry I couldn't accompany you, Dan. I'm sorry.
I know. So everybody knows, my wife wasn't able to make it. It was supposed to be couples, right? Power couples, is what it said in the literature. And unfortunately, my mother-in-law fell and broke her cheek the morning. The morning that we were, or the night before we were supposed to go. And so I was thinking, like, I didn't really know what to expect. And so I called Sean and said, hey, I think I might have something that I need you to go with me on. And then, and he's like, I don't know, man. I don't think, we're both married men. That seems a little weird.
This is for couples. I was like, I like you, Dan.
We would have embraced you. We would have.
I think in the end, it would have been okay. We just wouldn't have been able to do the relationship thing. But the event was awesome. We did some really cool things. I met some really awesome people. Some personal development was had and done. So that was very good. Holly, I had no idea you were a runner. Do you still run?
I do. I call it jogging now. But I used to get mad when people would call me a jogger, and I was running competitively. But now I can officially say I'm a jogger now.
When's the last time you ran a marathon, a full?
It's been since about
2008.
Yeah. Well, no, wait. 2008. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a lot. That's a lot sooner than the last time I ran one, which was never. So
I've never run a full, but I've run some halves and a bunch of triathlons. But that was, I'm 47. That was when I was between 30 and 32. So it's been 15 years also.
The glory days,
Yeah, the glory days.
Yeah.
So Holly, you're a connector, right? I mean, your whole drive is to put people together so that they can build their network and develop personally or as that network. Can you tell us kind of what got you into that? What got you there?
What got me there is I just enjoy seeing people connect through community. And I've always had this passion to be an influencer of some kind, because there's always been someone in your own life that had stepped up and believed in you and connected me to my higher self. So it started there. And then that journey just continued with trying to find out how that works and how I can make this something bigger and be more of an influence to people. So it's just kind of been a journey. So it started out by someone making a difference in my life, and it's just kind of snowballed since then.
Oh, well, that's cool. When you say influencer, it's funny because we talked on the phone a little while ago, and you used that word, and it obviously conjures up the modern iteration of
teenager on TikTok.
Yeah, somebody on TikTok walking across blocking traffic, doing their dances and all that stuff. But that's not the influencer that you're talking about, right?
Right. Well, Rick Springfield influenced me long ago, but that's a different story too.
There you go. We're talking about the singer. If there's young people watching, they probably have no idea.
Yeah.
So what was
Jesse's
your
Girl.
favorite
There you go.
What was your Rick Springfield song? What was your favorite?
Oh, well, Affair of the Heart, but I mean, there's Souls, there's Jesse's Girl. Everybody knows Jesse's Girl.
Everybody knows Jesse's
Living
Girl.
in Oz, you know, but you have to be a complete Rick Springfield fan to get those other ones. But they are very good. So.
And now you have to be very rich to go to a concert, apparently.
Yeah, no doubt.
Got in trouble for
no. Not anymore. They make it pretty good.
Sorry. I got all excited about my question. So as someone who rose to the level in running where you were able to get yourself onto the marathon trials team with the Olympics, do you think that sort of high level training and work ethic is something that lends itself to what it is you're doing or trying to do right now?
Yes. I lived in Twin Falls, and my husband and I moved up here in 2005. He got a job up here and being a police officer for Boise City. And we moved up here, and I met a post-collegiate coach that actually was a rival coach when I was in college. And he had a post-collegiate team. And before we even moved up here, I checked them out, and I wanted to get on a team where I could run better. And of course, as you know, you have to be with someone who is the same or better than you to get better in whatever you're doing. And I would drive up 2 hours for a couple of times before we even moved here to try out this team. And these were all people who were influencers, but they were also better runners. But my coach, he was basically what I call the blind spot that I didn't see in my running. You can go out and run, you can read Runner's World all you want, but unless you have a coach, Brenda, anybody, you might have those blind spots where you can't be completely 100% who you are without that. And so he found those, his knowledge, his expertise, the team I ran with, everybody just made it as a combination to help me get to where I want to be. I never thought I would ever, at age 38, qualify for Olympic trials in the marathon, but
you did that at 38?
38. A lot of people said I couldn't do it because I was too old and too thick, but that just kind of pushed me to that direction to definitely. Oh yeah, I can show you.
That's awesome.
And with kids too.
No kids, just fur babies. I wasn't able to have them, so yeah, I have fur babies and love on them.
What kind of fur babies do you have?
Rottweiler.
Oh, there you go.
Big baby.
A big baby.
Yep.
That's a big baby.
Yeah. That's a big baby.
A big baby.
Baby. Just like a regular baby, they're just shit machines. So it's
Yep. They love unconditionally, and you don't need a babysitter, really.
Yeah.
No.
So Sean also rose to the level of collegiate athletics with baseball.
Nice.
Right.
Oh, nice.
Sean,
Yeah. I went and played baseball through college. It was good. I went to TCU, Texas Christian University.
What position did you play, Sean? My older two boys both played.
I pitched and I played first base, and then I got stuck playing right field when righties were starting because they wanted, if someone else's bat was doing well, but they wanted mine in the lineup. I was a little bit more versatile than other people.
You lefty?
I guess. Yeah, I'm left-handed.
Yeah. Okay. So. Good for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but I played through in Orange County and then went to TCU to play in college and then graduated with a kinesiology degree, which is absolutely nothing related to what I do for a living, but it's okay.
Yeah. TCU, for those of you that don't know, is Texas Christian University, correct?
Yeah, and I apologize for the college football showing. We sucked. It's I'm like,
but your mascot is a great name, right?
The Horned Frog. Yeah, it's the Horned Frog. But we have a 455-pound, I think it's offensive or defensive lineman as a freshman.
Holy crap!
450.
Big Bubba Brooks.
Wow. Holy crap!
That's one guy that will make you look small. So,
yeah. Brenda, how do companies find you? How do you end up in someone's boardroom or corporate training room? How do you end up there?
Yeah. So honestly, Dan, it's been by referral only. The fact that I've been able to build this business the way that I have has been awesome. It's been by referrals. And so we are, however, what happens oftentimes, I do a lot of speaking engagements as well. And I will speak and entrepreneurs, solopreneurs will come up and say, hey, like, how do we get a hold of you? Right. Because we'll work with any size company. It doesn't matter. The smallest team I've ever worked with was 3, but it becomes an affordability issue for them at that point if they're a smaller company. And we understand that. And so anyway, we're getting ready to roll out. I never had any offering for them because all I did was just the corporate. And we kept wanting to change that. And I just want to say something real quickly, like Holly helped with that event, Dan, that you and I were at. And I've known Holly for years and I've been able to see her connect people, but I didn't understand the depth in the excellence in which she operates events. And so as we were trying to come up with a solution, like I'd say to my people, my team, like, what else can we do? How else can we serve more people? What else can we offer? We had come up with doing not only virtual and live events, and also we're rolling out an executive coaching program where people can come in as a group. Like I said, that's what we're launching in September. And they not only have access to other high level achievers, but they get to network with each other and they're growing together. And after seeing Holly and her performance at that event, I have since brought her on my team and just said, like, listen, I need you to be in charge of all these events and take care of everything. And so anyway, so you can find us. We're doing that virtual event in September. We're launching that program in September. We're doing a local event here, Dan, October 20th and 21st. Holly, is that right? I think.
Yeah.
Where individuals can come in and purchase a seat. We are literally going to be doing the exact 2-day training that we do. I mean, we're going to modify a little bit because it's not going to be teams, but the same training we give corporations. So those people who have been hungry for this training and wanting this training, they can now just purchase a seat at a fraction of the cost that we do for corporate, and they can get the training. And like I said, Holly's going to be running all of these and spearheading all of my events for me because of the level.
And that's in October.
October 20th and 21st here in Meridian.
Where are you going to be having it?
We are having it at the Mike Brown Group. Don't shoot me, Mike or Dan. But that's where my office is. My office is in his office, and I got to be honest. I mean, those people have been phenomenal. And I called Mike up. I said, "Hey, can we?"
They're awesome.
Yeah, they've been great. So I asked him if we could use his boardroom, and he said, "No, absolutely. Let me check the calendar." And he got back straight away. And so we'll be set up there. It's beautiful, beautiful building, beautiful kitchen.
That's the brand new one on Linder.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Well, if you end up getting or wanting a bigger venue, I know someone that owns a Stone Crossing.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to be doing more of these events because the other challenge is a lot of the organizations that I did leadership development for, they'll hire on and they'll have another, 2 or 3 people on the team. They don't necessarily want to redo the whole training all over again, but they want to be able to send individuals. So this is going to solve that problem as well. So we're going to be able to offer this on the regular basis. We're not quite sure how regular yet. We're just getting our feet wet and all this stuff, but people are hungry for this and they want it, and it's radically transforming their lives. And so we're trying to give every opportunity available and make it all work for everyone. So to answer your question, Dan, the best way to track us down is thebrendalee.com. I don't know of those of you who know who Brenda Lee, the other Brenda Lee is, but
I was gonna bring that up. I was gonna bring that up because growing up, Brenda Lee's Christmas album was on our turntable every year. And when I heard your name, I was like, wait a minute, what? It started jogging back some of those memories from when I was a kid. So.
I personally thought about Sarah Lee in the pound cake in the freezer section.
That's funny.
Now
So
Brenda
Lee.
Thanks, Sean. I like Dan's better.
I know. Well, sometimes I'm hungry,
Clearly. Keep that girlish figure, right?
This one here, thebrendalee.com.
Yeah. And that links up to our leadership company. It links up to the divorce. We still do the divorce coaching. It's few and far between, right? I got to really like you to take you on as a divorce client, but those will link you both to the other companies that we have if you've got different needs there. But that's our main site, and it'll get you where you need to go.
Yeah, it seems like there's no shortage of divorces going around.
Right. It's really unfortunate. But the
horrible.
challenge is we call it the double Ds. Like people get in the divorce depression. And I really feel passionately about people. I mean, I've had one of my clients literally, and I didn't know this until we were done. We sat down, we were having lunch it was just like a year after we did the program. And he slammed his hands on the table and he said 8 emails. And I'm like, shit, did I not get back to you? Like, did my assistant, like what happened? Was there a fallout here? Like, did I have a breakdown and not responding to you? And all these things are going through my head. And he goes, I want you to know, I sent you an email for every single week of your program telling you I was going to quit. Like it was so hard. I was so depressed. I was so in the weeds. And then he opened up and he shared the story with me. And he's like, what you don't know is 2 days before I met you, I was planning my suicide. And I think men, especially like men take divorce so hard, and people do not realize this. Like men take it so hard. And like, I literally, when I heard this from him, I called several of my clients. It's like, did divorce ever cross your mind? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. And
Suicide.
did suicide. Yes.
Yeah.
And I did not realize how prevalent. I don't think that way. And almost every man that I've talked to, in fact, my Bedros says it all the time. He's like, every man at some point is considered suicide. And I'm just like, wait, what? So here I am sitting with this client and he's sharing this with me. He's like, if I didn't find you, I would have committed suicide. And I just can't fathom the world without that man. Like he's become one of my best of friends, right? Like I just can't fathom. He's such a phenomenal human. People get so depressed and so in the trenches, and it just grieves me. And so anyway, we can collapse time for that for them and get them up and out of those double Ds, the divorce depression, really quickly.
So that brings up a very interesting point, and it's not really our topic here, but I'd like to talk about it.
Let's do it.
Are we going to the dark side?
Yep.
Well, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't, but it does seem like I heard a statistic the other day, and this is going to be very loose. I can't give you the exact numbers, but more women attempt to commit suicide than men, but don't follow through. Men follow through more times than women. Now, the reason I say that is because of what you just said. Have you ever heard that with women in that business?
You know, I haven't. Most of my clients, like the last time we ran numbers, 86% of my clients are men. And so I deal with, and partly it's just the way of the game of high-level executives and entrepreneurs, right? Men are the risk takers and they're the leaders, and they just assume that role more than women. That's obviously shifting and all the things, whatever. But so I haven't really experienced that with women. I haven't. My experience has been it's more of a man thing, but I don't know. That's just my experience.
The reason I ask, and because it has to do with marriage and divorce, makes it a little more relatable to most of us, right? Because we're not all CEOs and we're not all, this, that, or the other. But do you think that men have and I guess this kind of goes back to what you were saying before about how men do open up, but in my experience, men don't open up and men don't have anyone to talk to, because if we talk to our spouse, then we look weak to them. Yep. And then that perpetuates resentment for being weak in the relationship. Yep. And so it makes me wonder what you two ladies, if you've interfaced with in your businesses or even in your lives with men, and you've heard that. Is that something you've heard where, man, Brenda or Holly, I can't talk to my own family because, I'm looked upon as weak, or so I'm thank you for doing this. I'm able to open up like in what you're doing in those boardrooms. Do you think that's a prevalent thing? I guess that's my question, because I know what happens in my head, and I think that a lot of men are that way, where we just it's in here, it's not coming out. We're not going to talk to anybody about it because there are ramifications to that.
So
that's why I asked the question earlier.
I'm so glad we're actually talking about this, you guys, because divorce, or I keep saying divorce, suicide is at an all-time historical high right now. Historical, like we are in. This is not funny. Like this is a really serious thing that's happening right now with everyone. And I really believe that COVID was the catalyst for this, where you took all the distractions away from people. You shoved them in their home with a spouse they probably didn't know anymore, right? And now, like, all the noise that they distracted themselves with, they had to face themselves. And this is really the core of every business that I have, everything that I do, every coaching that I deal with. It boils down to emotional intelligence. That is the center wheel hub of all the spokes of all my businesses and the foundation of our leadership programs, right? It's emotional intelligence. When these people got locked in their home and they had to address them, they don't have the skill set to deal with emotional regulation and how to deal with the bag that they have. And that's the whole premise of that bag that we do, is like, I'm going to give you the skills to unpack your bag so it's not so scary. It's okay. Because the challenge with suicide, exactly what you're talking about, Dan, when we're now faced with a partner, who the hell do I talk to? My best friend's going to think I'm psycho. My wife's going to think I'm a weak piece of crap, right? Like, and so that just heaps on this level of shame. And I don't know about you guys, but everything's energy. I don't understand it. It's way above my pay grade. You put this desk under a microscope and the damn thing moves. I don't get it. It looks solid and it looks like it doesn't move to me. Okay. I don't get it. However, emotions are energy as well. They're like, there's even an emotion code. It's energy in motion. So when we've got these emotions, they've measured emotions. Shame, on a scale of 0 to 1,000, shame is the closest to death. Like 750 is love. Shame is at 20. At 20. So here you're feeling, and it's a vicious cycle for these men that won't open up and talk to people because they don't feel it's safe. They feel like they're going to get judged. They feel shame about it. And that's like damn near death. They're right there on the doorstep. And it just drives me crazy because you guys need help. Like, there needs to be a place for people to talk about it. And honestly, I was going to shut down my divorce program. That same client that I was just telling you about came to me and said, you are being selfish if you do that. You are the lifeline for people in one of the most challenging times of their life. You have to give this gift to people. And that's the only reason we kept it up. When I framed it that way, I was like, holy shit, you guys need help. Like, ugh, I'll get off my box now.
Well, no, go ahead, Sean.
So like going into that whole COVID area too, right? Where you're kind of stuck with people that maybe you don't even know, but then they can't open up, and then a lot of people dove into their phones and social media and that rabbit
and alcohol.
Yep.
And drugs.
Right? And alcohol and drugs and experimenting probably with things that they've never done before. And then they come out, on the other side, if they come out on the other side. But I mean, there are statistics on suicide about post-COVID and through COVID, how suicide is accelerated. And within people, what was it? There's some stat that was thrown out the other day about COVID, or suicide attempts with like kids that are under 18 years age.
Yes.
And it's like more prevalent with women than boys for some odd reason, under 18. And obviously that's a lot of the social media, like
exactly
what they're viewing, what they're getting fed. Yep. Right. So anyway,
they get the not good enough complex. And you know what? That lives back to Holly. Like, when she's not kidding, when people said to her, and Dan, you kind of laughed, but they were like, you're too thick. Like, literally her bone structure. It's like, you can't do this. And they told her what she could or couldn't do. Like, that is not okay. Don't tell me what I can't do. Right. Like, it's just not, but that's what society has done. And Holly, what was your experience with that?
Well, yeah. And my coach, like you, Sean, was in kinesiology and teaches that actually. So yeah, I mean, it was, I would look around me and I would honestly see women who were thinner, but my coach is the one that said, if you can envision it and you can blueprint that, you can do it. And so I would envision myself and really seriously see myself crossing the line at a certain time, even in practice. So when you blueprint, that mental part of it, your body just responds, and it doesn't matter what anybody says. And my coach did tell me, he says, you can teach someone how to run, but you can't teach them heart. And he says, Holly, you have heart. And he says, you have drive. And he says, that's all I could ever ask.
Yeah.
So that could go in with business and everything. So,
but like going back to that whole thing of like, it's like gymnasts have been more vocal of late about this whole pressure of coaches telling them that they can or can't eat, or they're not going to fit in their uniform, so on and so forth, right? So I mean, it's out there, but it's in a lot of women's sports,
right?
Well, I laughed, just so you know, I laughed when she said thick, because
she's not thick.
my wife's athletic and she's got athletic legs and I'll go, "Oh, Jen, you're looking thick." And she'll go, "That's a horrible thing to say." And I'm going, "No, but I'm saying it in a good way, you know."
Like, I love
Yeah.
it.
You
Yeah.
gotta choose better adjectives, dude. You gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta work.
Yeah.
Thick
I-
is the new strong, so it's good.
I mean, I even think about how I talk to my 7-year-old daughter,
Good.
right? And I'm
Good.
like in terms of like, oh, you're bigger. Like, no, like you've grown, right? It's like it just sounds so stupid, but like,
Yeah.
you know, my wife had a father who was not very like complimentary, right? Growing up, right? And she didn't get that positive feedback. She had no weight issue, no nothing, right? But she was a swimmer and she swam through and she was all CIF and her brother swam in water polo and all those things. So there's like kind of like a fitness thing that you had to keep up. And like for my daughter, even I don't want to press upon like the wrong words. Like I want everything to be positive and not get misconstrued into a way of like you're big. Yeah, she's big. She's tall. She's super tall for her age.
Good for her. Good.
You
Yeah.
know? But like just one of those things where I'm just more sensitive. Like with my son, I'm not as much. You know, I give him a hard time.
You know, it's funny you say that though about your son, Sean, because like I have 4 boys, right? And I find myself having to choose words carefully with them. My oldest shared with me at one point just recently. He goes, "Mom," he's like, "I'm pretty good looking." And I was like, "Yes. Oh, of course you are. Like I've called you handsome since the day you were born, right? Like how do you not know that?" But it's again all this social media and all the things. And he finally just realized he didn't have the belief, right? There's a difference being told things, and then when you finally believe it, and then you embody that, then it becomes different. And he's different now. Like he shows up differently. He's more confident. He's all the things, but comparing on all the social media, thinking he wasn't good enough. He didn't think he was good looking. Holly, you've seen my son. All my kids are good looking. Like they're freaking good looking kids now.
Yeah.
But to hear that out of his mouth, and I was just like, wow, because words matter. So have any of you heard of Dr. Emoto?
No.
Okay, so
sounds familiar, but I'm not offhand.
You guys might want to check this out. He did a study literally on water and
yes.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, Dan?
And he played people saying angry things to water, and he looked at the individual water molecules under a microscope, and when beautiful things were said, beautiful music was played, they made beautiful shapes. And when they played negative things, horrible, angry music, bad words, et cetera, they turned dark colors or brownish and made, more, I want to say, ugly shapes, right?
Yeah, the molecular structure literally changed of water. It fascinates me. Guess what we're mostly made up of, you guys? Like words, freaking
muscle.
matter.
Just kidding.
That's just you, Sean.
So what I was gonna say too is I'm probably pretty screwed because all I do is listen to like angry dad music. Like I hate my parent, like that kind of stuff when you work out, right? So
yeah. But Sean, we should talk. Do we need a coaching session about this?
maybe I should put like smooth jazz on or something.
There you go. Yeah, but you can't work out to smooth jazz.
No. Holly, why don't you share the conversation we just had in the gym? Like I always have music on, and sometimes Holly and I, like we happen to be able to work out together at the same gym. And I finally popped these off the other day, and I was like, I turned around, I walked away from her, and I turned back around. I was like, how the hell can you do this without earphones in your ears? And Holly, you talk about this Olympic training and what this does for someone's discipline. Share what you shared with me.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the gym, but I find myself distracted. I feel like I'm not focusing on how my muscles feel. My coach didn't have us listening to anything, and he even didn't have us looking at our watches. It was all perceived exertion. So I still do that, but I also feel like it's a distraction. I'm like, well, I don't want something to help motivate me. I got to be motivated myself. So it makes me have a little bit more challenge to go in there and just, it does help me focus more. But then also I just feel like I don't want to be dependent on anything. But I don't know. I'm just weird that way. I'm just weird. I like to just take in everything.
It's not weird. It's that level of discipline, right? Like that's like a whole different level of discipline. Like I don't even want to try it. I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm just going to do what I'm used to, right? But that's what shows in the way that you ran that event is that level of discipline that you have that carries over. I really believe these little tiny habits we have affect every area of our life. And it shows in the business that you produce, in the events that you put on, in all the things, even if something as simple as why don't you have earbuds in at the gym, right? That's her level of discipline.
I mean, I remember listening to tape decks to Rocky
You
Four
walk in?
soundtrack, Rocky
Oh,
Four
yeah.
soundtrack, bench pressing in my downstairs mom's bedroom
Yes.
when I was 13 years old.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like I've always had something in my ears.
Me too.
And in college, they blare music so loud inside that gym, you would not, you can't even hear yourself think.
Yeah.
So there's the flip side of music too. Back to Dan's point with the water. If we are like unmotivated and struggling, and we can use these tools, if you will, to shift our energy, to get motivated, to feel like you flip Rocky on, Sean, you're probably like back in that, basement bedroom.
I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So it
and I reminisce. Yep.
Yeah. It's not that it's bad. It's fine. But it was fascinating to me. Like I said, her level of discipline in that regard. I was like, wow, good on you.
Sure.
Although I will say when I am punching the bag and kicking the bag at the gym, there are times where I have played Karate Kid music.
You're the best.
I have done Rocky, so it's all good.
Yeah.
I can't, when I used to train for triathlon and for half marathons, I also can't listen to music when I run. I need to hear the things around me and all that. But when I work out in the gym, I listen to books or music, but usually I have a book going. It keeps
probably
my
on
mind
the recumbent bike.
What's that?
So you're probably on the recumbent bike. You need to get off that.
I'm not doing any cardio.
Listening to books. Get out of here.
Is that the bike with the handlebars?
Cardio in the gym.
I'm going to drag you over to the weights, Dan.
Yeah.
Hey, so Dan,
you should be doing weights, sir.
Hey, Dan,
that's all I'm doing is weights. Don't let Sean.
I know. When I picture someone listening to an audiobook, I think recumbent bike.
Like you're with the little click clack shoes that you like click in. And
yeah.
Hey, Dan, I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
I have a question. So do you have an alarm when you go to jiu-jitsu that says, "It's time"?
It's time. I also don't use an alarm clock. So
there you go. Okay.
Yeah, I naturally wake up.
You've must have been listening to Ray Cashcare talking about you don't need an alarm clock. You just wake up automatically, or
unfortunately, I have not listened to him. I hear that his stuff is great. But I haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Dan, I don't know if we can be friends. I'm just saying. Ray's the boss. Ray
is he? Oh, that's what I hear. I met him at the event. He was a really nice guy.
Amazing.
It was unfortunate that he got sick, fell ill, and wasn't able to attend most of it. But very, very nice guy. No, I've never had to use an alarm clock. I don't know why. Maybe it's stress and anxiety just wakes me up, and fear that I'm gonna mess up the day or miss an appointment. Like if I have a flight in the morning, I set.
You can't sleep. Yeah, you can't sleep.
But I rarely can sleep well enough to need the alarm because I'm so afraid that I'm going to miss that flight, and I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's everybody, if that's you guys too, but. Yeah.
I also know that I can't call Dan past 8 p.m. So
I am in bed. In bed fairly early. Yeah, it's true.
I do the same thing, Dan, for flights, and then I finally learned I just need to fly in the night before. Really, because it's like things go south and it just mitigate that expending energy like that.
Totally.
It's not worth it's worth an extra hotel overnight.
There's nothing worse than an airline causing you to miss a meeting.
Yep.
Or any of that stuff. That stuff's horrible. So if you can travel the day before, if it fits your schedule or if it's if it fits your wallet or your budget or whatever, if they're not paying for it, then definitely. I think that's a good idea. But it does double the cost of everything, right? Because you need another night of a hotel room, you need another day of a car, et cetera, et cetera. So We did. I think you guys both stayed at the hotel. I also stayed at the hotel, even though we just lived. That was in Boise, and I live in Eagle, and you guys live in Meridian, I believe, which is 8 miles from Boise. But it was like, I can't run the risk of missing or being late to something. There's nothing more distressing for me than being late to something. For all the reasons. It's rude. If they lock you out, now you've wasted the money on the event, et cetera, et cetera. So no alarm clock. Don't be late. If you're not early, you're late, right?
So going into this whole accountability thing for waking up, work fitness, like the gym work, that's over off of Chinden where my wife goes.
Oh yeah. Linda and Chinden.
There's loves it. There's a list, and you have to get on the list. You put your schedule in, and you have to commit to it. If you are on that list, and there's a wait list, if you're on that list and you don't show, they fine you $15.
Nice. Good.
Because you took someone else's spot that could have been in there. And so the wait list, you may drop in if people are pulling out from like that night prior, and at 10 p.m. it posts. So she wakes up sometimes at 4 a.m. and realizes she's not in the 5 a.m. class, but she's in the 6 a.m. class. So it just depends on the whole thing. But that whole accountability of it is like, it's nuts. And people show up. Yesterday she showed, like, I wanted to go back to bed. I just couldn't. I couldn't waste $15. I couldn't bring myself to it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So,
I would struggle with somebody charging me when I pay them anyway. I would struggle.
$149 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I do hear that people get results there though.
Well, and that's you guys, that's like the bottom line. Like when we talk about being late, in fact, I just did a podcast about this myself about like committing to something, commitments versus value. If we commit to something that we don't value, we're probably not going to follow through on it. If we commit to something like Dan values being on time very much, right? And so that's why he wakes up for if he's got a morning flight, all those things, his value system places a lot of value on showing up and being on time. People who don't show up, they don't value being on time, right? And so all of our commitments and our habits are all based off of what we value.
And when someone's late, they don't value your time either.
Right.
Thinking about
that's what we
exactly
think, right? We think that because that's our perception, but it may not necessarily be true for them, right? And I think that's where we can get into trouble with relationship, where, especially with couples. In fact, Matt and I were talking about like doing a communication training for that Ubuntu. I don't know. Yeah, for the
because we are. Yep.
Yeah, for their community, because like in relationship, it can easily, I often use this example, like, say like whatever, Jen leaves socks on the floor all the time and it drives you batshit crazy. And you're like, hey, Jen, would you please be willing to pick these socks up? This is something that really irritates me because you value neat, tidy, organized space, right? Well, she doesn't value it. So now you've got this gap in value system, and it eventually becomes not about the socks, right? If you can communicate in a way at this point, like, hey, Jen, for me, the socks on the floor is like a freaking 10. It sends me sideways. I mentally get frustrated about it. What is this on a scale of 1 to 10 for you? Is this like, clearly you don't value it or you wouldn't be doing it. And when you engage with your partner this way and you guys decide this is a 10 for me, it's a 2 for you, I win this one, right? I don't get it doesn't matter if you don't want to pick the socks up. Now it becomes, I respect and love Dan so much. I don't care about the socks. I'm going to learn to get disciplined about this because he values it so much and I value him so much. I'm willing to make this a 10 now for me too, because the 2 are 1, right? You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and so this is where communication and that dance of communication with people, it's not that she's trying to disrespect you by not picking the socks up. It's that she doesn't value it. But when you frame it in a way, this is really important to me and we're 1 and it's a 10 for me. This gets to become a 10 for you too, please, right? Like if you'd be willing. And when we love someone, we're like, shit, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'll pick the socks up. Like, shame on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But for the record, it's the other way around. My wife runs a very, very clean house. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, maybe I should have this conversation with Jen and give her the skill set.
She would probably appreciate that.
Yeah.
Here is your YouTube channel. This is it's got some. Let me see. Oh, I need to add the stream. There we go. That's not it. It's this one.
But we got that.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that too.
So here, yep, we do. So this is. I was going through this, and Sean and I watched a little bit of a couple of them before you guys got on, and there's lots of really, really good stuff here. Leveling up, shatter barriers. I mean, these are all things that we can all do. And then there's the suicide one. I don't know if this is the same story as the gentleman that you shared with us.
I don't know. I was doing I think that suicide one is about that movie, of the book of Otto, I think. Is that the movie?
You got me. I don't watch a ton of movies.
It was Tom Hanks was in it, and it was about suicide.
Yeah, it's Otto, something like that.
Yeah, Otto.
Yeah.
So I think it's the Book of Otto or something like that. But it was such a good movie, and it was a
Man called Otto. Man
okay.
called Otto.
There we go. Thanks, Sean.
Oh yeah, and he's in a super depressed and disheveled state.
Yes.
In the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, he tried to commit suicide multiple times. And like the story, it doesn't make light of suicide because it walks through like this guy, but it's a very dry humor. It's very interesting the way they did it. So it makes it palatable, right? Because it is such a heavy topic. But the movie made it very palatable and walked him through. And then when he valued this other family more than he valued losing his wife, then that's when he came back alive again, right? Like he lived again. He chose to live instead of choosing to do suicide.
The family with the kids and whatnot. I always wanted to watch it. I just didn't think it would be appropriate for a 7 and a 9-year-old.
Probably not. I would watch it with my teenagers, but I wouldn't let my littles watch that quite yet. Yeah. Because he literally he attempts it a couple times, and you see what he's doing, and it's
pretty heavy. So you do the both of you are involved in something called Women Empowering Women in Network. The anagram for that is We Win. I'm going to put it up here. I'd like the both of you to tell us a little bit about it and what you have to do with it.
Well, let me just say, first of all, I mean, I'm involved only because I'm a speaker. This is Holly's event. This was the other thing that I'm glad you brought that up, Dan, because watching her put this together, her heart and her vision to serve people in a way just blows my mind. Like kind of what you were saying, like when she was saying she's got the heart and the drive. And that is Holly's heart. And I'm just honored to be able to be a speaker here. So Holly, tell them what you're up to.
Cool. Yeah, tell us all about it.
Well, it started out by I wanted to pay it forward and to give back. There was someone a long time ago that helped me when I lived back in Twin Falls that was right by my side when things weren't going right. And Twin Falls is great, but I've found the most influential people up here, but there are a few down there that started this journey. And if it wasn't for those people, I wouldn't be here. And it's very emotional to me because I think there are people in your lives, and some people don't get that chance to have someone come around to change you or to show a different path that could be possible. So I wanted to get a group of women that I knew that are women in business and who are great influencers, and get them together and have a space for people to come. And I want to ask everybody who's women in here that would like to start their own business, who have thought about being an entrepreneur. And I want to see the show of hands. And I'm like, do you have someone to mentor you? Do you know anybody in this realm? And I kind of just want to see what we have, because I want to have these people that I have there talk and share about their journeys and their stories and how they got from point A to B. Because a lot of people think that it was just given to them when it wasn't. And so we're going to have some kids from the Venture College at Boise State there. So they're going to, people who are entrepreneurs that are wanting to know, they might connect with the artist that's there. Suzanne, you met Suzanne, Dan. He was there at the event that created that community painting that brought so many of us together, that had a brush stroke in that moment at the event. She'll be there. So there might be someone that connects with her, or maybe Dr. Mindy Leroy, who is a holistic doctor, or Caravan Sam. So there's just so many. And Brenda, Eva Eckert will be coming from California, and she's amazing at what she does with personal development and fitness and that too. So we just have so many that are going to be there. Christian Schneider, as you know, and Bridget, they can talk about Ignite and how beautiful of a couples event and what they're doing with community and what that brings for so many people. And I just love inspiring people and having a space for people to talk about their passion and where they came from and why. So I'm excited about it, and to bring this together to have that space for women to feel comfortable in sharing and speaking and just connecting with each other.
That's great. This is going to be Friday, September 22nd at Kiln. And Kiln is the building that's next door to Topgolf, right?
Yes. Yep. It's 11 to 2, and the Kilns donate in the space. So we're very grateful for that. And my friend Sherry at Tasty Touches is going to donate catering there. So that's great too. And then Eva Eckert's going to have a workout, Rockbox Fitness is going to donate their space to have Eva do a workout in the morning at 8 o'clock for us. So I'm really excited about that. So she's coming up here on her own to do all that. So I think it'll be a great event.
That's great. Definitely women empowering women. If both of you guys can each answer this, if there is a young woman or any woman who is thinking about starting a business, getting into the business space, it's obviously it's probably saturated by men. They want to start a business. What advice do you have for them to do that? What would you say, Holly? What would you say to a young gal who came to you and said, Holly, this is what I want to do. I'm going to start this business. I want to sell these widgets, or I want to do this service or something like that. What do you tell them?
I tell them to go for it. I tell them to find I'd ask them, is this what you're really passionate about? Is this really what you want? Do you want to do this?
Right.
I want to know their why behind it, because I think that if people are starting a business because they think it'll make money, that's great. But you have to actually, first of all, you have to find out what your passion is, because you can't sell something you're not passionate about.
Right. Brenda, if someone came to you and was struggling with the idea that that maybe I can't start this business, or I'm afraid to start this business, but I love this thing, to Holly's point, and I want to do it, make it, sell it, etc. What do you tell them?
Well, I'd quickly annihilate that story, because if I can do it, they can do it, right? Like, I was a single mom of 4 boys as a general contractor making good money, and I was terrified. And literally within 3 days of that third person telling me go be coach, I literally burned the ships. I was done building the houses. I put a bow on that. They found somebody else to build them, the ones that we were scheduled for, and I went all in. And I think the thing is like, you've got to be able to, the key factor is it's belief in yourself. If you don't believe you can make it work, it probably won't work. Right. And so that would be my first conversation, getting to the core with them. What's your level of belief in you? Do you trust you to make sure that this is going to happen? Do you trust you to make sure that you're going to follow through? Do you trust you to get up at 4 a.m. when you want to sleep in, and you got to go grind, and you got to do that, because it's tough. It's hard. I can't tell you how many nights when I first started this, I was in my office till 2 a.m. because as a single mom whose dad is not involved, right? Like, it's me and my 4 boys and our family that we've developed here. We don't have family. So it's quote unquote family that they've taken us in. We do this shit all by ourselves, man. And so being mom and having to flip that switch and be in the office till 2 a.m. multiple weeks in a row, like months, I can't tell you. You got to have the belief in yourself and the tenacity to do that. If they don't have that, I would discourage them from doing it, honestly, because it's a different breed of doing entrepreneurship. It's a different breed. We're not, most people aren't cut out for it. They don't have the level of discipline and commitment. So if they've got that, though, if they've got the tenacity, they've got the grit, I'm full behind them. And then at that point, they need to get a good mentor. They need somebody that's far enough ahead of them, not too far, but far enough ahead of them. They can actually collapse time for them, so they're not making mistakes for 2, 3, 4 years, so they can get off and running in a much faster and efficient way.
So when you say,
and I
collapse,
also think, go ahead.
No, you.
I was just gonna say, and this is exactly and we want to, these people, like if we have women or that come up and ask that, I want to definitely connect them to the right people. And, that's why we're having this space, is to give them ideas.
Well, then to give them the connections, Holly, that was a lot of her heart behind this, because when women step out, it is challenging to find people who will mentor you and give up their time for free, right? Which I don't see it that way. I mentor like the Boise Young Professionals. In fact, even when we were done with that program, they asked to keep going, right? They're like, will you please keep mentoring us? Like, I don't see it that way, but some people do. And people who are in business see it as like, oh, I can't afford to give this away. So it's really important, like with Holly saying, these women that are here at this event, they're there all giving. None of us are getting paid. We're all there on donation because we care and we want to see women succeed in their journey.
Can I ask you a quick question in terms of, let's say someone comes in, has a great idea, has all the things, but the funding, basically, right? You guys have, I bet that situation comes up quite a bit where people have great ideas, but they, don't know how to start, don't have the mentor, don't have the funds to just do it themselves, kind of thing, right?
I have an idea. So Kara Van Sant, who's in charge of the women down there, she's actually going to have a QR code there for the people who want to donate for scholarships for these kids that have an idea, that want to get started on something. This is going to go into that. So there'll be an option to donate. But I know Kara said there's a bunch of scholarships out there for people who want to start businesses. There's businesses. I think there's a program out there too to help with that.
That's cool. Yeah. For the people who don't know how to get onto Shark Tank and pitch their idea, right?
Yeah.
Well,
they
and
have
Caravan
Sant all the time.
Caravan Sant at Boise State is in charge of like the pitch contests and stuff, Sean. So like those students, they teach them how to pitch in order to get funding in front of people that do offer funding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say just a little seed money. That's all.
Oh yeah. Sometimes we've got an idea, but we don't really know how to get it started, and it might be something that's going to cost. There might be a substantial cost to get started up, and where do you get that, right? Does mom and dad have it? No. Does the neighbor want to work with you? No. Sometimes there's places where you can go, and she sounds like a great place to start, to say, hey, where can I go? Where can I get the 10,000 or whatever it is that I need to get started? But to both of your points, Holly and Brenda, I think that getting together with like-minded people who have put ideas not just on paper, but then put them into reality, gone from conceptualization to realization. Other people who think just like you, get with those people, talk about it. Yeah. If you're always hanging out with or doing your life with people who have no drive and aren't dedicated to getting somewhere, that's what you'll do. Yep. So you gotta look for those people who will, as Matt Schneider says, expand your world. Yes. They'll help you to meet the right people and go to the right places and do the right things so that you can build you and thus your company or your service or whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, without the Ignite Your Life event, without events like this, Brenda and I went down to a mastermind event in California last year, and I didn't realize that there were people out there like this. I saw Ray Cash Care on the selection and thought he was amazing. He showed amazing integrity in that. But then we went in a room full of people like that who could teach different things or had resources. Kara will be a great resource for people who want to get funding or have some links to people. So it'll be a great resource for everybody. And I just love that because the world needs more of that.
I got to say, this is one of the things that happened for me with Matt and Kristen's event, was that a lot of networking was done. And I met you guys through it. I met, and I'm talking about people that we've had on. Parker Kane came on. Thank you, Holly. You set that up. Yeah. That was awesome. He was a great guy. And then Ronnie Lambeth came on. He had fascinating stuff to talk about. But anyway,
we didn't talk about butt.
No, right. We did talk about butt. I said thick, right? And then I got in trouble for saying
Yeah, we covered that topic already, Dan.
I know. So that's like one of the things that that I got out of that was the connection with all these people who are also driving towards a goal, whatever it is, whether it's more money or a bigger company or personal development, more exposure. Absolutely. I mean, we can all meet more people who do better than we do. There's nothing wrong with people that do better than we do. I do not begrudge someone their wealth ever or their success. Teach me how. Tell me how to do it. I'm willing to work hard and do those things. One thing that I didn't know, Lindsay and Elliot Schwartz, speakers, she was the keynote. Lindsay was the keynote at this event. And I spoke with she and her husband afterward, and the night before at the Diamond Girls. But I didn't realize that there were events that were 5 and 6 and 7, in some case, figures that cost to get onto because of the level of people and ideas that you are going to be put in contact with. Obviously, they also do some fun stuff. I know that Rondi puts one on that's I think it's 10 grand, 20 grand or something like that. And they go out to Vegas and they're driving Ferraris and doing all that fun stuff. But that puts you sort of in the same space as people who do that, right? Guys who can afford to spend $10,000 or $20,000 to go do a 2-day event, ride around in helicopters and drive Ferraris, they do that stuff. And if that's what you want to do, those are the people that you need to be connecting with, right? I mean, some people can do it on their own, but it's much better to be around those people to see, okay, what are their habits of highly effective people? What do they do? And that's something I didn't realize. Oh man, she said, we paid for a 6-figure event. And I'm going, my house is 6 figures, what are you talking about here? But it's people who have the drive, have the ability to conceptualize and then realize the things that they do. If that's what you want to do, those are the people that you need to be around. And if it costs you money to do it, go do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
You become the 6th of the top 5 people you hang out with, right? And to your point of like being in the room, I never, ever, ever want to be the smartest person in the room. That's the most dangerous place to be, right? Because then our ego steps in, we get complacent, we get comfortable, and we're not driving and stretching. When we surround ourselves with people that are ahead of us, that are pushing, they're gonna drag us by osmosis, right? If we're willing. If that's our choice. And they always say like your net worth is based on your network, right? The people that you associate with. Because the thing is like, just like us, right? Like, Dan, we wouldn't be doing this podcast had we not met at the thing, had we know we're like-minded simply because we were at that event. So there's a level of trust that happens just by being in that room. Like anybody in that room that was there that would come up to me and ask me anything, I wouldn't even question it. I already have an established level of trust. If you are there, in fact, people ask me, they're like, you're single. Why are you at this event? And I was like, I was supposed to be out of town. It fell through. I called Matt and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Can I just be with these? I know the level of play that Matt plays at, and him and I associate in the similar circle. I know that the people in that room are going to be top shelf people. I just want to be there. I'll workhorse for you. I'll do whatever you need. I just want to be there and learn from people. Obviously, I suck at relationship, right? I want to learn from people who are doing it well, right? So let's be in the room and let's get it figured out. But it's true, right?
But it's true. It's just like it goes back to even my team. When I moved up here, I could not have done it without them. And again, they were all better than me. They knew more than me. It's those blind spots. I mean, everybody has something to offer. Everybody has little bits and pieces that could help you out in your business. And that's why it's nice to have a variety of people. Because like Brenda and I were talking about this morning, it's just like if we were all the same, how boring would that be? And we would never grow.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well,
for sure.
One thing I did want to say too. Sorry, go ahead, Holly.
Oh no, I was going to also say a part of this event, with having Brenda there, she's been definitely important in my life, and I've seen her engage with people, and I there's a big part of that that's just really changed me. But I have to tell this quick story really quick. When we were down at the mastermind last year, I always knew Brenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Brenda, I had to say this, but I always knew she was top shelf. I always knew she was a great person and what she does. But this totally was blew my mind. So Bedros was asking people to come up. We had a little breakaway where you could just go over and connect with someone and tell their story, and you just tell them about each other. And he asked the whole audience when we were done, okay, who wants to come up and share? And I was like, oh, no way, man. And Brenda was like, I'll do it. So she walks up there and she talks about her conversation, and they're like, thank you. And they gave her $100 bill. She walks back down.
Well, they gave $100. They gave $100 bill because my hand was one of the first to go up, and the whole point was success loves speed, right? And they were rewarding that immediate. Yep, it's risky, but I'm doing it anyway, kind of a deal, right? Sorry, go ahead.
And then she came back down and she gave that $100 bill to the guy she had the conversation with, and he said, "Why are you giving me this $100 bill?" And she said, "Because without this experience, without you having this conversation, I wouldn't have had this opportunity." So she gave him the $100 bill, and I thought that was just classic. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I love to. She doesn't ever talk about it, and I wanted to get that out there. So I'm just saying.
You're so sweet, Holly.
Full disclosure, Dan would have bought a bottle of whiskey with it. So.
Right.
John, I'm not going to give you the $100 bill then, dude, unless I get invited to the whiskey. Okay.
We can get a pretty good bottle.
Dan would have already been at the liquor store. I don't know.
My kind of people.
But that just shows character.
Speaking, it absolutely does. Speaking of that, it is Friday. I don't want to keep you guys so long that you're upset with me. I really appreciate you ladies coming on and sharing some of your wisdom with us. And anybody out there, make sure that you look up Women Empowering Women in Network. It's on eventbrite.com. You can put in any of those names that was on there and it should pop up, but Women Empowering Women in Network. Friday, September 22nd. And what was the October one? Give us the October one again.
Yeah, October 20th and 21st here in Meridian. And then we've got a live summit September 14th through 16th we're doing as well. Like a virtual summit, excuse me.
And how do they find it?
Social media. We're going to start launching all of that. If they follow me on social media, they're going to hear about all of these. I mean, if you can't find it, that's on you at this point. It'll be everywhere.
Okay, we'll take both of your socials and put them all on there and in the description and or in the comments of all the different places that this gets posted. But I want you guys to go and enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for taking your time. I know we're all busy.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Dan.
No worries. Appreciate it, Holly.
You guys
Thanks,
are
Brenda.
awesome.
Yep. Appreciate you guys so much.